Hey, my Legion, how y'all doing today? I'm here today to review Creepshow, the graphic novel influenced by the movie. Now, well, first of all, if anyone didn't know, 1982 Laurel Productions, the same people behind a lot of the George Romero stuff, like Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, and Mother's Day was one of his movie, and then United Film Distributors, Knight Rider, and some of his other stuff. Martin, but this was a anthology series based on in the style or spirit of the comic books made in the 1950s. And then they did Creepshow 2, which I liked, and then Creepshow 3 sucks. I guess Taurus bought up Laurel Entertainment, and then they released Creepshow 3, and they released Day of the Dead 2 Contagion, which I never seen. And then they will see their name in the revival of the TV show. They're trying to do a TV show on Shudder, Creepshow. I only saw the animated one especially for Christmas that my buddy John's got on Shudder. You'll see Taurus Entertainment there, but I mean, the Creepshow 3 really sucked. Well, anyways, I've wanted to get this forever. Now, I remember my mother used to get stuff like Cosmopolitan and stuff like that, and they would always have this book club in there. I was always fascinated to see what the new books were, so I looked in there, and I knew my mother hated horror, but she bought me Stephen King stuff when I got older because she said it was popular, so I was allowed to have it because it's popular. She must have thought saying horror films were popular. I don't know. But I remember his books were always kind of dirty and stuff. And I remember in the book club, they'd have a blue star next to a selection that was filthy or something. There was never none next to Stephen King, which surprised me because his books were always filled with curse words and his books were pretty much dirty except for Eye of the Dragon, which John said was supposed to be a kid's book, but I didn't read like a kid's book at all. And that was about Knights of the Round Table. That was it. Eye of the Dragon was cool. That's one of his lesser known books. I read that in Fort Gordon, Georgia, in '88, along with Misery and some other books. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. But anyways, I saw this and I looked all over for, and we didn't join a book club or anything like that. Mom would just go to wherever she went to that sold books and stuff like that. And I never asked my mom for this because just by looking at it, she'd say no. You know what I mean? She probably kicked stuff, but she was against horror comics and stuff like that. It was just weird. I mean, her reasoning for stuff just like my dad's reasoning was bizarre. Because they were against horror films, my dad was against gore. And then Cisco and Ebert would be against horror films and stuff like that, and they'd say all these things, and then you see movies wasn't that bad. Because I remember they reviewed A Hitcher, and they talked about the part where the girl was between the two trucks, and then they took off and they said they showed it. No, they didn't. Whenever they took off, they faded to black. They didn't show what happened. They showed it in the remake, but they showed it in the original one. But I don't understand what they said. But they made stuff sound so more graphic than what it was. What we saw on VHS or whatever. But with my dad, it was well, you're not allowed to see Friday the 13th, but he didn't have a thing with the sequels, which was really strange. I mean, their theories weren't consistent. Well, anyways, I never asked to see that. But I looked all over for it. I could never find it because I always wanted to get it. I've been wanting to get it for a long time. I think it's fascinating because I love the movie Creepshow. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. And I just pretty much forgot about it. Every time I'd look and I forgot about it. And then internet came along, and it was a long time before I ever shopped or bought anything. I think the first experience was 2015. Dad bought me some items off of Amazon, um, like hot sauce and stuff like that. What's cool, the first time I was ordering online. I never did that before. And then, going on eBay and stuff, and I looked for this on eBay, and some of these were really expensive. They had some $1,600, and they had one $60 or maybe it would be $10 with $5.95 shipping and handle, something like that. And I got this. I can't remember the exact price. $450, then plus $385 shipping and handle, around $850 or whatever. And I didn't think it was a bad deal on eBay, so I decided to get it after all this time. I've always wanted to get this book. I finally got it, and it's really cool. I mean, you got, you know, the awesome cover art right there, and then in the drawings on here, it's so cool. The cover designed by the EC Comics artist Jack Kamen, illustrated by legendary Bernie Wrightson right here. And look, I mean, the biggest distinction, I mean, they don't have like the wraparound follow up story with the guy and the dad fighting against horror films. My dad was like that, though, you know what I mean? But they do have like the introduction. This is pretty much like EC Comics. They have the introduction of the guy who does narrate. He called himself the Creep right there. See him right here. And he introduces the story. And Father's Day, one of the biggest things in here is the stories are out of order from the movie. In the movie, you remember it's it's like 2 hours long. And then I watched Minnie's Comedic Arts talk about Creepshow. And he said like Warner Brothers cut 10 minutes out of the movie or something like that. Because it was a 2 hour long movie. Because George Romero's movies are usually long. And they take their time developing story and stuff like that. And I guess Warner Brothers didn't have faith in the movie, so they gave it a soft opening before, and it was successful. They gave it a major opening, and it was like for 2 weeks in a row, it was number one or something like that. Anyways, the stories are out of order. In the movie, you remember it's Father's Day, Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, Something That Tied You Over, The Crate, and then They're Creeping Up on You. Now, in this book, Father's Day, Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, then The Crate, then Something That Tied You Over is the fourth story, as opposed to the third story, and then the Crate's the third story as opposed to the fourth story, and then something they're creeping up on you. And the stories are pretty much, they're not exactly like told in the movie. I mean, but there's some lines that are directly from there, and the artistry in this is really cool. I remember showing this to Rita, that she was doing like, "Where's my cake?" She does that a lot, and then she wanted to see the money shot was the end of that right here. And I showed it to her. Isn't that cool? That's beautifully drawn too. Really well done. And some of the stories are a little bit different I mean, no, there's some swearing in it. There's no F word in it though. There gets to be more swearing in like GD and stuff you hear in the Bible and stuff like hell, damn, ass, bitch, and and there's interesting story to hear. I mean, but there's some scenes that they don't completely play out like they do in the movie. And then I remember Minty Comedic Arts was saying like they're showing stuff like they couldn't do like showing Ted dancing underwater. He was underwater. They said they didn't show this in the movie. There was a clear scene when he was underwater like that. He said, I mean, when he was saying like they were doing stuff like they couldn't show, they showed that in there. And I remember how great Leslie Nielsen was in that. I love this book. It's fantastic. But I mean, the way they do some of the Tide Over is completely different. They don't really show from the girl's point of view at all. I mean, they do that more in the movie, but I mean, it starts off with him being buried, and it wasn't like that in the book. I mean, isn't that fantastic drawing? I love it. The writing's great too, and then the creeping up on you is fantastic. That's done a little bit differently too. But, I mean, it's wonderful. And in the movie, they said like the most expensive thing, because like effects-driven movie with great work from Tom Savini. Even though I was told he's a jerk at the Horror Fest. He no longer. I mean, when the Horror Fest was still around, I guess he was banned from the Horror Fest because I guess there was a kid looking for stuff. And I guess Tom said, "Well, if you're not gonna buy something, kid, get the fuck out, or leave, or get the fuck away, or something like that." And then I guess Mavis was pissed and stuff like that, and I guess he got banned. He's not allowed back at the fest. I still want to see a documentary about him though. But this is a fascinating book, wonderfully drawn and wonderfully written. I love it. I give it a 10 out of 10. It's fascinating. And I'm so glad to buy this. I mean, it was it's used, but but this is still good condition, you know. Some of the prices, they had like signed bag ones that are like really expensive. And then that one was like $1,600. It's insane. I mean, I want to get it, but I don't want to pay that much. But I mean, around $8 for that's pretty good. And it's a reprint. It's not like the original. But I mean, I'm happy with that. Just the way it is. So I hope you like this review of the Creepshow graphic novel. I'm so glad I got it. And like Chris present me, I remember that was the first thing I ordered, I think, when I started doing a bunch of ordering and stuff. Now I'm letting off the ordering. I'm still expecting a couple more packages. I remember starting ordering like 2 days before Thanksgiving, you know. But I give that Talent Temple the Creepshow graphic novel comic book. It's fascinating. So until next time, bye please. Take care of my legion.